We did give it a go. I have no argument there. We tried it for, I think, 2 terms, and then we decided, look, we didn't believe as a majority of the councillors at the time that it was working in the best interest of the community. I'll also remind members that we're in a global pandemic at the moment. We're dealing with emergency situations. Providing a strong leadership team and consistent leadership team is something that I think is very important, being the representation of our town. And then also just providing that second point of call, I think is very, very important. And the Deputy Mayor does that. I also agree with Councillor Davies in that we should always be looking for savings. And I'll also remind members that this is a 12-month appointment. If we choose, well, we would move that as a 12-month appointment. So we're talking about 4,700 to try out the model that we had for the last 2 years of the last term. That also does align with a lot of other councils. So I get the sentiment. And I look forward to these conversations continuing on. If there is that thirst for easy savings, we might look at meals, we might look at other items that are going to come up through the budget process. But right now, providing that to IC, I think is very important in moving forward.
I think it also needs to be remembered that if whoever is either chair of a committee, senior leadership role, or a deputy mayor has to work very closely with the mayor, have to collaborate with the mayor, have to have regular conversations. So that's also very important. So yeah, that hasn't been mentioned yet. And you can do that with either model. Okay, any other discussion? Councillor Samble.
Yes, I'll certainly be speaking against this motion. After proudly being mayor for 8 years and having a deputy each 12 months, it was fantastic the way that I believe the deputy mayor sort of, they seem to get more involved with the actual council. To be able to, when it came to the point, as Councillor Shanks has just said, none of us know whether we're going to be next week with COVID or something of this nature, and the council has to be represented. I know in the times in the last 4 years when I was deputy mayor for that time and supported Mayor Karen, it was fantastic to go and to meet and the people and where you went, and that really appreciated that there was that person in its place. It wasn't the mayor, but it was a deputy mayor, and this role should not be taken out. It's a role that I believe should be there. Every 58 councils in South Australia have a deputy mayor. Some of them are starting to come up to base, but they elect a chairman and then they elect a deputy. But we've had a role for years and years and years, and it's so important to be able to give young new members an opportunity to be able to be in that position of being the deputy mayor. When I see we talk about money, I can't get out of my brain $68,000 spent on trying to work out which way a car should run up and down Blanche Street. So please, councillors, vote this motion down. And I have a motion I'd like to move after this motion, please.
Any other discussion? Councillor White.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be speaking against this motion as well. I believe, similar to what some of my fellow councillors have said, the value in having a deputy mayor for the community, I see outweighs the increase of costs that it would be that council be remunerated for. I think it's important, in particular in this time where absences of the mayor can happen overnight, whether they're unavailable for health reasons or whether there's a double up of events. I think it's important that the community is able to see a fellow community member that represents the council, that isn't just a council member that has been picked of who can be available. I think it allows a bit of a streamlined understudy process to use it that way, so that it allows the member that would be elected deputy mayor an ability to connect with the community on a level closer to that with the mayor. I see what you mean too, Mayor Redmond, regarding working closely with yourself if there was a deputy mayor, and I believe that whoever all of us here, whoever would nominate for that position, would work very closely with you and continue to represent the community's best interests alongside you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? There being none, councillor Hughes, you can close the debate. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, councillors. Yeah, I think there's some confusion here about the deputy mayor is one person. The chairs of the two main committees is two people. So if one of those people, the two people or three people, including the mayor, I think three people is better than two, especially if you're worried about COVID and things like that. So you know, having two people in the leadership team is still a formal position, and that's how we formally did it previously. Those people, as I said, carried out important days. They did citizenship ceremony for Australia Day, Councillor Little, acting while the mayor was away. So good governance was in place. I just see this as a very simple way of, as Councillor Shanks said, of saving $4,700, and over 4 years, it's over $20,000. It's very simple, and it actually gives two people every year a chance to actually act with the mayor and work closely with the mayor. So over 4 years, that's 8 people. If it's shared amongst all the councillors, get a chance to actually partake in very serious, helping the mayor, and it is a really good thing to do. And the mayor is very busy, so it sort of does free up some of that workload. So yeah, I think it's something, especially for the first term of council, councillors should probably consider doing this, because it's the new councillors especially just working out how things work, and this is a way of just sharing that workload and giving a chance for all the councillors to settle into this new term of council. So I think it would be a good chance to share that leadership team and share that workload and actually get to know what goes on within the community as well. So yeah, I really like all councillors to support the motion, because it is something quite simple that we can save money on quite simply. Thank you.
So I'm going to put that motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against. It is lost. Division. Councillor Hughes has called a division. All those in favour, please stand. And I'll call your names out. Please stay standing. Councillor Koch, Councillor Hughes and Councillor Hennessy, please stay standing. The voters against are Councillor White, Councillor Vallelonga, Councillor Davies, Councillor Shanks, Councillor Solomon and Councillor Samble. The motion is lost. Thank you. Councillor Samble, yes? Do you want to turn your mic on? Thank you. There we go.
Mayor, Karen, I'd like to move a motion that the nomination of Mr. Nathan Shanks be for the mayor for this coming 12 months.
He can't be the mayor. I'm the mayor.
Oh, well, sorry, deputy mayor. Yeah, sorry, deputy mayor. Yeah.
He didn't put his hand up to be mayor.
He jumped up pretty quick, didn't he?
Well, before we do that, I think that we should have a motion that we have a deputy mayor, and then we call for nominations, because there might be more than one person that wants to be deputy mayor. So I'd ask for a mover to move that we have a deputy mayor, Councillor Vallelonga. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Shanks. Any discussion? If not, we have a mover and a seconder. I'm going to put that motion, all those, and so you know what we're voting on. We're voting on to have a deputy mayor. Okay. We'll just allow the minute taker to have a deputy mayor for a 12-month period. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? It is carried. Thank you. Wait and see. So I'd ask for nominations for deputy mayor who, apart from we've got councillor Shanks and we've got who else? Anyone else wants to be deputy mayor? Councillor Koch. Okay, yes, thank you. Okay, so we have two people who wish to nominate for deputy mayor. I might at this point hand over to the CEO who can be returning officer and can describe what the process will be. Thank you.
Through the chair, and I'll ask the governance officer to put up on the screen what would otherwise be the process that we would follow for the purposes of a ballot. Do you have that? Right, this is normally what we would otherwise seek council to endorse by way of a mover and seconder relative to the process. And if members are happy with that process, and endorse that by way of a mover and seconder, then we'll proceed accordingly.
That's already in our meeting policy, isn't it? Is that in our policy?
Yes.
And it's approved? That's right. I don't think we need a motion because it's in our policy. So the policy is endorsed currently. It hasn't been revoked. So that is the process. So CEO, if you want to continue. Turn it on, Henry.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so based on that, as per the policy, we have two candidates who are nominating. We'll seek that each of the candidates present their credentials by way of a brief presentation to council, and then we'll put the matter to a vote. We'll distribute the ballot papers. If you could indicate your preference, and then we'll collect those papers and we'll those ballots, and we'll count. Thank you.
We're going to get the papers. Yes, you seek leave to make a personal statement, and Councillor Koch, do you also seek leave? Do members give leave? If you can raise your hands and show that, okay, you both have leave. So I'll take Councillor Shanks, given you spoke first. You've got 5 minutes, and then I'll go to Councillor Koch, and then we'll do our vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and also thank you, Councillor Samble. I wasn't expecting to not have to self-nominate, so I appreciate that. Look, I didn't arrive to the decision of putting my hand up as Deputy Mayor lightly at all. It's something that I have been thinking about ever since I sort of chose to run for council and seeing who was nominating, and yeah, just trying to be that, I guess, leadership in that leadership role and try to provide that assistance regardless of the title, because I know exactly what it was like coming into the chamber for the first time and trying to learn local government. So I've been consistently doing that anyway, regardless, whether I'm elected as Deputy Mayor or not. And I pledge to keep on doing that. Deputy Mayor to me isn't just functions and chairing on the odd occasion the current Mayor is not available, because we know the current Mayor's work ethic is impeccable. She's always busy, she's always available. So it's not that for me. It's also about sending a message to our community that the leadership team this year are these particular people. There is no confusion. We still have community members that don't even understand what an IES and a CCS is yet. And we've been working on trying to educate our community on our committee structures and council as a whole. Deputy Mayor is a term that is known throughout, not only just the state but the world. So I think it's a consistent message to send. I've also proven myself contactable and approachable for the last 4 years. And I think I've gone above and beyond to make sure that I'm doing the role justice. And I do take it very seriously. So putting up my hand for deputy isn't something that I have come to lightly, as I've said previously. And if elected, I look forward to being that second point of call. That will always be there for any elected member or the community member if needed, as I've already shown the willingness to do so as a councillor time and time again. I also have chairing experience, being the CEO Performance Management Panel Chair for a year, and also being Deputy Chair of the IES. My chairing style has always facilitated constructive conversations that have resulted in robust outcomes in those roles. And in those roles, it has been very important to work collectively with the mayor, and we were able to catch up in my time on the PMP and work on that committee for the committee's purpose as a whole, everything else aside. And I tend to pledge that to the role as deputy mayor for this 12 months if you'll have me. So, yeah, look, I think I'll just close by saying I believe I've done my apprenticeship for the last 4 years. Now help me practice my trade by supporting me being that leadership role that I know I'll be able to commit to.
Thank you. I will move on to councillor Koch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Now that the council has actually resolved to have the position of deputy mayor, I do wish to be considered for the role. I'm now in my 4th term, and over this time I've participated in almost all council committees, plus represented the council on multiple external bodies. I'm actually happy to put in the work for the community, to represent the community where I can. In particular, I've been the chair of the IES, the CES, I think the CEO PMP committee as well. I'm also the chair that exists, also the deputy chair of NORMA, and also I was the chair of NORMA's Bailfield Consultative Committee. So that's a whole range of committees that I've chaired, and I've been happy to chair those, and I feel that I've done a very good job in those committees. I've also been a chair of a number of community groups and associations. I'm an experienced chairperson and always ensure that the meetings are run according to the set procedures and ensuring participation and input from everybody at the meeting. When it comes to representing the mayor when she's unavailable, I'm self-employed, so I'm very flexible with my time. So in most cases, I'll be able to step in at short notice. Also, I've been on council for 3 terms, so I understand the processes and the need to implement them if required. For example, if there's an emergency, I understand the processes, I understand what needs to happen. I'm also, I have done a number of media spots as well, so I'm quite happy with that. And this is a role that I haven't done yet, so over the 3 years I haven't been the deputy mayor, and I think that would be an honour to have that role. And finally, finally, as a council has resolved to have this position, I would conduct this with great diligence and give, and I would also commit that I wouldn't be wanting the remuneration for that term, and I'd ask the council not to pay the deputy mayor for that position, as that's my stance in the previous motion, either not having it, or I would just simply donate the money back to a cause such as the YAC. So I'm quite concerned about the cost of this, but I'm quite happy for someone to take the role like myself, but I think there's an opportunity there to make savings. Thank you.
Thank you. So now, if everyone would please make their choice and give their envelope to Jordan Dodd as she comes around. Thank you. I beg your pardon? You choose either one person, or you put 1 and 2, or you put whatever you wish to do. It's really up to you, Councillor Vallelonga. I can't tell you how to vote. There we go. Yeah, so you just have to make a decision on who you wish to be deputy mayor. Okay. Put a 1. Yeah. So now we'll just talk amongst ourselves while the vote is counted. Thank you.
And the winner of the ballot is councillor Shanks. Congratulations, Mr. Shanks.
So we have a, congratulations, councillor Shanks. And thank you for putting your hand up, councillor Kosh. So we need a mover and a seconder for this motion that councillor Shanks be appointed as deputy mayor for a period of 12 months. You happy to move that way? You need to leave the room. Yes, you've got a material conflict. Yes. Thank you, Nathan, for reminding me of that. We'll let you leave the room. No, you hadn't. No, you hadn't. We had to have a decision that we would have a deputy mayor, then we needed to vote, and now on who that person would be, and now we need to resolve that that person, which is councillor Shanks, be appointed as deputy mayor. He's now left the room. He's declared a material conflict, rightly so, because you get a remuneration for that particular position. So we have a mover in councillor Kosh. Now, do we have a seconder, councillor Davies? There's no further discussion. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Now we'll ask Nathan to come back in. Thank you. So the next item is 10.2, time and location of council meetings. And I've just had a look at C and D, and you've got the 10th of December and you've got the 9th of December. And I was looking at my diary for 2/24 and 2/25, and it's possible to have a meeting on the 17th and the 16th. Why aren't we having meetings then instead of 2 weeks after? Because Tuesday the 9th is literally 2 weeks after the previous council meeting, and it might just stretch it out. It's still a week to go to Christmas. I just think it might be better to have a meeting on the 17th. They're still on Tuesdays, if I've done my calculations. Jordan, you might want to double check that just to make sure I've got that right. So 24 and 25, I didn't have a problem with the other ones, but 24, the 17th is a Tuesday. 17th is a Tuesday, and 25, the 16th. And I think that still gives us, it's still a week before Christmas. I just think it might just spread things out, might make life a bit easier. I thought I'd raise that. You happy to move that way, councillor Shanks? And I think I saw councillor Davies' hands up as a seconder.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, it was something that I picked up, and it was something that was a little bit intimidating at that time of year as well, where I'm going, geez, we've just had a council meeting late November and we've got another one 2 weeks later in the busy time of year. So I understand what was trying to happen, but I think that extra week does give us that little bit of breathing space.
Yeah.
Yes, we're getting close to Christmas, but yeah, we're getting close to Christmas either way there. So look, I'm happy to support it as amended.
And councillor Davies, you're the seconder?
Yeah, I was just wondering if I could adjust it slightly so that in point 3, council member reports is brought up directly after officer reports.
Sure. We did do that previously. And
We did do that previously. It's been back and forth, so
you want to move that forward?
yeah.
No problem. I'll now the mover and seconder, the mover, you happy for that? So that's after H. So
Yep.
it would be the new I.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. H I. Yeah. We've still got everything there, Jordan. Yep. Yep. we'll just allow the minute taker to catch up and have everything right. PQ. So I think that's right now. Mover's happy, second is happy. Any other discussion on this matter? If not, Deputy Mayor, are you happy for me to put that motion? Put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. Carried unanimously. So now we move to 10.3. I think I saw you first, Councillor Davies.
Yeah, I'll move, so for chairpersons of committees to not be paid an additional allowance for A. And then for B, monthly in advance.
Monthly in advance.
I'm happy with.
Yep.
And C, D and E, just continue as is.
So C will get rid of B removed.
Yeah,
So travel expenses be included, care expenses be included.
yeah,
D, so we get rid of the removed one, and E, provision of further assistance, E, have that there. Is that
yeah.
be included, be included? The CEO be authorised to make changes of a minor. You happy with that?
Yeah, though, I'm curious what kind of changes the CEO would need to make to our allowance policies.
You can take it out if you like.
I'm just not sure why it's in there.
Why is it there, Jordan?
That is simply there, so if there is a minor change to the legislation, a provision, if we spot a typo in 6 months' time, we don't have to come back to council and say, hey, there's a typo, can we fix this up? It's minor and not to change any intent, it's just as
Yeah,
a,
I'd
just in
probably change
case.
it and just changes of a minor nature and get rid of technical. I think that might address your slight concern. Yeah, of a minor nature. How about that? Yep. Thank you, Jordan, for that explanation. So, yes,
And to speak to it, look, this is, I did think through this one because I was thinking that, you know, well, for the same reason that I think it's worth compensating people for the deputy mayor position, it might be worth compensating people as chairs. But I also, as Councillor Hughes was pointing out previously, having those positions of, you know, CCS chair and IES chair, for example, as easy places for new people to take a chance to be able to get some experience would be valuable in a way that if we make it more competitive, we might lose out on that. So that's why I ended up deciding to go with this option.
thank you. So we have a mover. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor, you happy to second? Do you wish to speak at all?
Yeah, just quickly, just to sort of say that I'm sort of voting this way because it is the status quo. I'm used to it, but I am keen to test it out for 12 months and maybe touch on what worked and what didn't for the new council, because I do see the value and I do understand the sentiment of saving money. Don't get me wrong, I'm all about it. But also on the flip side, when you have members in the chamber that may not be retired, maybe studying, maybe working part-time and whatever else, if there is a remuneration there that does give some incentive to put up their hand to do that little bit extra, I see the value in that as well, and not having to take on that extra shift and all that sort of stuff. So it is a double-edged sword in my opinion, but I don't think we're at the point to have those conversations right now, in my honest opinion. So keeping it as is does make the most sense to me.
Thank you. Okay. Any other discussion? If there's no further discussion, Councillor Davies, are you happy for me to put the motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so that deals with 10.3, council committee structure. Now, I've actually gone through these draft terms of reference, and I note in the CEO Performance Management Panel terms of reference, I actually believe that we need to, it's on page 30 of our attachments. I actually think that we need to put in, I know that we obtain and consider the advice of a qualified independent person, which is a requirement under the Act. But I also believe that we should also have those 3 dot points underneath there. And 2.3 included, not removed. I think the CEO performance measures are really important. It's a key role of the committee to look at the performance measures. I also think the CEO's own performance overall, and also remuneration and conditions of employment for the CEO. All of these tasks that the committee will do will be recommendations to council, of course. So it will always come back to council, but I also think that 2.3 is established for formal discharge delegated powers, functions or duties that are delegated by the council from time to time. So I think that might be useful to have that in there as well. So I don't tend to agree that it should be removed. I think it's actually a core role of the performance. So that's probably the only thing I wanted to say. I had a quick look through all of them, and that was pretty much the only one that I picked up. So I'll put that to you for your consideration. Okay, so we could put as amended the CEO Performance Management Panel, but you can. So I'd ask for a mover and a second. I'll take questions after I get a mover and seconder, if that's okay. You happy to move that way, Councillor Hughes? Are you happy to second, Councillor Davies? Thank you. Do you wish to speak at all, Councillor Hughes?
Just to reinforce what you said, I think it sort of sounds out the panel's role a bit more clearer with those dot points in, and with the extra functions 2.3 delegated by council as well, which can occur. So I think that rounds it out.
Do you wish to speak, Councillor Davies?
Yeah, so a couple of things. First, I'd like to clarify what we're moving exactly, because within 10.4, there are 2 motions. It sort of says officers' recommendation below this, and it goes on to list who's going to be on the committees. Is that meant to be the same motion? Because it's all within 10.4.
Adopt the terms of reference as endorsed by the previous council, noting that minor, well, they're not minor, they're actually quite substantial considering the CEO performance management terms of reference. Establish, adopt, we could take out point 2. We're saying that establish.
Sorry, just to clarify, I'm more asking around, because the whole thing is one motion, including the part below it, as far as I can tell, this appointing the council members.
No, we're just doing this. My mistake. We're only doing that top one. I'm going to do them individually.
Okay.
I'm not going to do them on block.
Okay.
Okay. So does that clarify?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. I wasn't quite on the same wavelength there.
Yeah. And the other question I had was just around the delegative powers. Is it written anywhere that we have any delegation powers? Because we do need them to be able to note things so that we don't have to individually approve them when it comes to the council meeting.
We can ask for reports, but I think the transitional legislation for the local government reforms has removed substantial delegations. The council can delegate to a committee from time to time. So what that clause in the CEO Performance Management Panel says, council can delegate from time to time. So
Sure, because most of the ones I'm concerned about are just when we're noting a report or something, we
Yeah.
tend to move those on block, like
yeah.
7 of them that are just noting reports. I don't want to have to manually
No.
approve each one now because they're.
Well, I think we can still do that. We can still do that.
Yeah.
The delegations that have been removed are things like setting policy and relevant to policy, which previously was allowable for the two major committees. And that's now been removed. So we can ask for reports, we can note, if something's a noting report, it's noted. So I think that won't change, and I'm getting agreement from our governance officer that that's the case. Does that help? Okay. All right. So we've got a movement. Any other discussion? Councillor Solomon.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question. I'm just wondering, what I think it's under point 2, though it doesn't, I don't think it has a number next to it, but the inclusion of the panel will adopt a risk management focus, that line there. I'm just wondering what the practical implication of that is.
Now, where are you looking,
Um,
Councillor
Is
Solomon?
that-
Can you
is
give
that
me?
in the terms of reference? Sorry.
Yes,
for
and
the-
it's in
for
there
the CEO?
twice.
Yeah.
It's actually in there twice.
Right.
Are you looking at the CEO performance
Yeah,
management?
yes, I am. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually in there twice, so we can take one out because it's over the page, I noticed.
Yes.
Have you noticed that? So it's already there. We'll adopt a risk management 6.2.
Yep.
And so we probably don't need it. We can take one of them out and leave one of them in.
Is it still, can I still ask what that, what the implication of that is in
A risk
practice?
management focus in its considerations, decisions and recommendations to council to enable council. So I guess risk management, and one of the things that we are doing that maybe people aren't aware, and we will be doing a workshop on this, is developing a risk appetite and actually having a risk statement around every major portfolio area of the organisation or council, and council will be asked to endorse that. So risk management is becoming more important. So I guess it's saying to the committee, whoever gets on that committee, that you need to have a risk management focus. You need, and that's, we will also have a HR professional on that, advising that committee, and they could probably elaborate far better than me around risk management. Risk management is now quite important. We need to have risk appetite statements. We need to have a risk management framework, and all of that infuses across every committee, every aspect of the organisation. So things like understanding what is the risk if we if council, if the committee makes a decision that maybe is risky and is a risk to council, so that statement says to that committee, you will overlay everything with a risk management focus. So is that motion going to be a risk to unacceptable risk to council? I think that's what that means. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to double check that that was something we should be consistent across all committees and is feeding back into that, that risk matrix that we're developing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And I think it is, you've included that in all the terms of references, I notice. Is that correct, Jordan?
Yes, I have. It is pursuant to the new section 48 AAL of the Local Government Act, which came in as part of the reforms, which said that council must develop and maintain prudential management policies and practices which identifies and manages risks associated with projects. So we thought that it was prudent to include it in the terms of reference for all committees.
And I thoroughly support that. I think it's a really good way forward. Yeah. I hope that clarifies your question. Thank you. Okay, right. So we're back to here. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Davies, you wish to speak again?
Just another question that I forgot
Yes.
to ask. The Elderly Centre Advisory Working Group, I'm just curious about, we sort of maintain it, but we don't seem to maintain a council presence on it. I'm just wondering about the thought process behind that.
Do we need it? I've asked a question.
through the chair, it's certainly been a committee that's been well established and well accepted by the community and, you know, the key stakeholders who use that facility. There's been no case presented to me that we should disband that group. Also mindful of your observations about an elected member representative. I think if an elected member is interested, then that'll be sort of a positive contribution for sure.
I think that clarifies your question. Councillor Hennessy.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I also had a question. In part of the documents, there's also a reference to a Gawler Urban Ribbons Biodiversity Working Group.
don't
But
think
I'm a
that
little bit
exists anymore.
confused.
I
It
don't,
don't-
I think that's now defunct, isn't it, Henry? Yeah.
Okay, so it was mentioned in some of the background information and yet it didn't appear on this list, so it no longer exists. Okay,
So
thank you.
that, yes, that probably shouldn't have been there. So, thank you. Any other discussion? If not, councillor Hughes, are you happy for me to put the motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we move to the appointments of council members. So this, anyone can go on any committee. There's no real, there's minimum numbers, but there's no maximum numbers. So I'm going to start with the CEO Performance Management Panel. I'll put my name down there and I know councillor Lowner wanted to go on. So if you can raise your hands if you want to go on the CEO Performance Management. Okay, do you want to? So councillor Kosh, councillor White, councillor Valalonga, councillor Davies, councillor Hughes, councillor Shanks, councillor Solomon, everybody. Everybody wants to, everyone wants to be on the, who wants to be chair? Nathan, you want to, deputy mayor, you want to be chair? Anybody else wish to be chair? No? Okay, so we've got councillor Shanks as, sorry, deputy mayor. And you've got everybody else on there? Yeah. Okay. Everyone there? Yep. Okay, so that's that one. IES, I'd like to go on there. Everyone put their hand up who wishes to go on the IES. So we've got councillor Kosh, councillor White, councillor Davies, councillor Hughes, councillor Deputy Mayor Shanks, councillor Solomon, councillor Samble and councillor Hennessy. I can't see. Oh, he wanted to be on that one as well. Okay. Who wants to be chair of the Infrastructure and Environmental Services Committee? Somebody put up their hand. It's a good idea for somebody. Anybody else? So councillor Davies has put his hand up. Don't be afraid to be chair of these committees. It's not difficult. And you'll get lots of support from staff if you wish. So councillor Davies, you happy? And no one else. So we've got councillor Davies as chair. And just if you could just raise your hands again so we know. You've got everybody there, Jordan? Okay, good. Corporate and Community Services, put your hands up. And I'd like to be on that committee as well. So who have we got? Everybody? No, not Jim. So we've got everybody except councillor Valalonga. He wanted to be on there? No, he didn't want to be. He only wanted to be on the IS and CEO Performance, didn't he? Yes, according to his email. So, so who thank you guys. Thank you everyone. Sorry. Who wishes to be chair of? We've got Isaac and we've got Brian. Would you be happy for Isaac to be chair? Brian? would you be happy for Isaac to be chair or is that okay? Yes,
It's again, it's been said that can get sick. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have a deputy chair, of that, because everybody's put their hand up. We all want to be involved, but maybe somebody can, at a bit of a training period, that they're there. So we have a chair and a deputy chair.
so the committee will determine the deputy chairs and when the committee first convenes, hold that thought, Brian, because I'm expecting you to put your hand up to be deputy chair. So Isaac, councillor Solomon, your chair. And I think we've covered that one. So now we move down to Reconciliation Action Plan Working Group. Councillor White has put his hand up. Councillor Hennessy has put her hand up. Anybody else? Thank you. We can have 3 if we wish. So another person, Councillor Solomon, thank you. So we have 3. So now the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee, if you'd like to, Councillor White, thank you. Anybody else? Oh, sorry, Councillor Davies. Thank you very much. Gawler Heritage Collection Committee, I'd like to go on that one. And we've got Councillor Kosh and Councillor Hennessy. Thank you. Thank you, Jordan, doing a great job there. So is that everything? That's everything. We've also got the Gawler District College. That's external bodies. Okay, sorry. Yes. We also have the Elderly Centre. Anybody wish to go on the Elderly Centre? You might want to think about that one. I'm not sure when it usually meets on a Friday, I think. You may want to consider that. We can always come back to it if you wish to put your hand up. It's not set in stone. We can always put up a motion on notice and pop it in. So have a think about the Elderly Centre Advisory Group. Okay, so if we go back up, sorry, Jordan, if we go back up, I'd like a mover and seconder to endorse these committees. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Hennessy moved, Councillor Hennessy and seconded Councillor Samble. Thank you very much. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. It's been great to see a lot of interest in these committees. Just to reaffirm what the Mayor said, we can move a motion at any time if something gets too much or you want to take on more. So it's not set in stone for the next 12 months if it becomes too much or too little. But these panels and these committees inform the elected body to no end, and it actually makes coming into a meeting easier, believe it or not, the more you put in at the committee level. And that took me a little bit of time to learn. So I'm really humbled that the newly elected members are smarter than I was.
Well, I'm not sure about that. Okay, so we have, do you wish to speak, Councillor Hughes? Yep.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, just to echo what Deputy Mayor Shanks has said. Yeah, agree. The committees are really good, and you actually get a handle on what's going on, and get a chance to actually discuss and ask a lot more questions and go through items, which is really important. But it's also important to be really well prepared for meetings as well, to read the agendas, especially the CEO Performance Management Panel. The feedback we got from our independent member is that some panel members weren't au fait with KPIs and actually working through. So you really do have to put some effort in and work with the committees. It probably goes back to what you put in is what you get out, and it is a constructive working arrangement. But yeah, it's very important to actually do the readings and ask the questions before the meetings and be to speed with what's going on in the committee structure as well as council meetings. But yeah, certainly the chance to ask a lot of questions and learn a lot of things as well. So that's important. Thanks.
Councillor Sample.
Yes, Mayor Karen, I've mentioned about the fact that having a deputy chairperson, has Jordan listed that, or has anybody put their hands up to be deputies of those committees? Because then the staff at least know if for what particular meeting there is a deputy to take chair.
Yeah.
The other thing, if I may, just a second question. Did I hear you say that there's not to be a representative for the Elderly Centre Management Committee?
No, nobody put their hand up. I asked. You'd like to be on there?
Yes, yes, I'm getting old.
Okay. Jordan, if you could add councillor Sample to the elderly, no, not that one. It's the Elderly Centre Advisory Group.
Old folks home.
Advisory Group, and we'll put councillor Sample's name under there. Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much for that. That's lovely. Okay. Now I've added that. Now we've had a mover and a second. Are you happy? I think that's a really good outcome. You're happy for that? Yes. Councillor Hennessy and councillor Sample. Councillor Hennessy, are you happy with that addition? Yes. Thank you. So that, if there's no further discussion, yes.
Just to clarify, the committees choose the deputy position. Is that correct? Yes.
So at the first committee meeting of whichever committee it is, the deputy chair is chosen. Thank you. So if there's no further discussion, councillor Hennessy, are you happy for me to put the motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. So now we move to 10.5, Audit and Risk Committee Terms of Reference. We're being asked to adopt the terms of reference as contained in attachment 1 and authorise the CEO to make changes of a minor nature. Minor nature. You happy to move that way, councillor Davies?
Yeah, look, I will begrudgingly move this motion. I'm not super happy about the state government reducing our number of appointments that we can have on the audit committee. Again, they've reduced the number of councillors we can have on the CAP to 1, and now they've reduced the number that we can have on the audit committee to 2.
I've got a cunning plan.
Oh, well, look, I'm always happy to hear about that, but yeah, I guess just I think the audit committee is a really good committee where councillors can learn a lot from the independent experts, and unlike the CAF, it's not making final decisions, it's making recommendations to go to council. So I don't really see why it needs to be cut off from councillors. But if that's the way that the state government legislation is, maybe we can just send off a complaint to the LGA as usual about it.
So we have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, councillor Vallelonga. Any other discussion, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, it might be against the norm here, but I'm actually voting against it purely for the reasons that Cody's flagged. It is a recommendation body, and it is an important committee that we've benefited a lot from in the previous term and terms before, I'm sure. I'm not happy with just adopting this terms of reference, although I'm sure our hands are tied. Yeah, I'd rather vote against than have our numbers dwindle, to be honest.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, councillor Davies, you happy for me to put the motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against, it is carried. Thank you. Now with the next item, I think we could have some proxies. So that way we'll always have two people on the audit committee, because I think it's critical, like we do with the CAP. We have proxies so that we always have one person, never no local content in the audit committee. I think it's quite important. We are allowed to do that. There's nothing, it's silent in the act, you know, so I think we can put proxies. I think that's a way forward to ensure that we have two people. I love the audit committee. I think the mayor should be on the audit committee because I think I can bring, the mayor can bring quite a broad knowledge to that local knowledge, but I think having a councillor and maybe two proxies, that way people can come, they can learn about the audit committee, learn about finance, learn about how the independent members provide advice to council. They get paid and they have a role, they have an important role. And our budgets go to the audit committee for review before they come to council so that we get the independent member review of those draft budgets. So it's actually quite a useful function. They also do risk as well. So it's not just audit, it's not just internal audit, external audit, it's also risk management and developing risk appetites, etc., which goes to the question that Councillor Solomon asked earlier. So takers, Councillor Sample.
Because we've got now three fantastic young people that have just joined, I mean, I'm just wondering right now is that we have the lady behind me here that can explain very seriously about what an audit and risk committee is. And I'm just wondering, we have these beautiful people come in, they sit behind us and they're probably pulling faces at me, but they're the knowledgeable people. I'm just wondering if we can have a few minutes of them being able to say, well, this is what the audit committee does. You've been explaining it well, but they're the top dogs.
We're the top dogs actually in this
Well,
chamber.
They handle it.
Staff are there to provide
I don't know,
advice.
it's just a
Yeah. So I might, if anyone wants to know what audit committee does, Sharon Perkins is there and her team, and also the CEO, of course, and also our governance officer that it will explain what our audit and risk management committee does. But it's a very important committee and you learn a lot from it. So, do we have any takers for the audit committee? Oh, well, I'm suggesting we have a couple of proxies. We have two people and we have a couple of proxies in case somebody's not able to go. Yes, and yes, yeah. Anybody takers? Councillor Kosh, any proxies? You won't have to go to every meeting. You want to be proxy? Yep. Do we have another one? Deputy Mayor, beautiful. So we have two proxies. We have Deputy Mayor Shanks and Councillor Davies as proxies. So if I can't go, or if Councillor Kosh can't go, you'll be it. And it'd be good to rotate that over the next couple of years so that everybody gets a chance to sit on the audit committee, because it is really useful and you do learn a lot around budgets and everything to do with audit. Okay. So we have that. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Hennessy and Councillor Davies, I think I saw your hand up. Moved and second. If there's no further discussion, are you happy to speak to that? Thank you.
Yeah, just to briefly speak to the other part of it that we didn't mention, but the reappointment of Natalie Johnston and Peter Fairley-Jones, I think is quite a good idea. They've been very valuable on their time on the audit committee.
Thank you very much. Yes, that is absolutely correct. Any Councillor Solomon?
Just a quick question, just in the, under the financial and budget implications of this recommendation, it just mentions the expense for an independent chairperson. Is the chairperson of that committee generally an independent chairperson?
Yes,
Yeah.
Natalie Johnston is the current chair. Generally, it's an independent chair, yes. Sorry? Must be. Yes, they're removing elected members from every part of council business. Yeah, which I think is a bit of a shame. I'm completely in agreement with councillor Davies. Okay, if there's no further discussion, councillor Hennessy, are you happy for me to put that motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Council Assessment Panel. So we have one councillor and then we have 2 deputy members. Who wishes to be the councillor this for the next 12 months? You're happy to do it, councillor Koch? Anybody else? You're happy to be a deputy member? Somebody else wishes to be a deputy member? You will get training. You will get training on. Now, you half got your hand up, councillor Solomon. Yeah, you will get training on council assessment panels, and it is quite thorough. And there's lots to know, of course, around planning, and of course the new code and the new Planning Act, and the nuances and which authority does what, etc. So I think it is quite useful. Deputy. Thank you, councillor Solomon. So we have councillor Koch as a member. We have councillor Hughes and councillor Solomon as deputy members. I think that's fantastic. Got a new member there, willing to get on and learn. I think you'll really enjoy it, councillor Solomon. Okay. Now we need a mover and a seconder. You happy to move that way, Deputy Mayor, and seconded by councillor Vallelonga? Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Yeah, CAP is one of those interesting ones. I remember I put my hand up and having a little bit of an interest in obviously development applications through my profession. Not that you use the CAP to favour anything, but it is good in the way of understanding a core business of council. It's also one of the only panels that you'll sit on as an elected member that you almost need to take your elected member hat off and understand the design and planning code and look at it for what it is. A lot of the politics doesn't necessarily come into it. But that said, it's also very handy to have that councillor or elected member voice there. So yeah, look forward to supporting the team that have putting their hand up. You've got some good experience there in both the member and the deputy. If the new deputy wants a hand with anything, I'm sure they'll be there to support.
Thank you very much. Okay, right. So we have a mover and a seconder. We have a motion on the table. Any other discussion? If there be none, Deputy Mayor, so it's Deputy Mayor. Can you change that? Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Deputy Mayor, are you happy for me to put the motion? Thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we move to, I might do these. Ask who wants, and we'll do this in order, but I might do this on block because I think it will save a bit of time. So we have, I'm on page 30 of the agenda, appointment of council members to external bodies and working groups. So we have that council adopt the procedure contained within clause 18 of the Code of Practice for the purposes of appointing council members to external bodies where required. So there's that, and I'm going to just go through and ask who wants to be on these committees. I'm a delegate as the mayor. It could be the deputy mayor, or it could be a councillor as deputy delegate to the local government association, which means you go to the 2 meetings a year, the ordinary general meeting and the annual general meeting. Which is in October and April, respectively. Who wishes to do that, Deputy Mayor? So we'll put we'll put Deputy Mayor Shanks there. We'll put Deputy Mayor Shanks the next one because you only vote for Local Government Finance Authority at the annual general meeting. We'll leave that. There is no delegate for the Greater Adelaide Region Organisation of Councils because there was an election pre-council elections. This came up the last term and I asked that it not be put in again, and it should not be put in again because it is not the case that every mayor and every CEO goes to these meetings. You have an election process and it's only now a very small committee. And we don't have a role on that committee anymore. So that gets taken out. Thank you. The following council members be appointed to the Gawler River Floodplain Management Authority, Councillor Samble and Councillor Kosh. Who wants to be the full member and who wants to be the deputy? I don't mind, you tell me. So Brian, are you happy to be the deputy member? Thank you very much. So got that. Then we're moving across to that we note that the executive manager, infrastructure and operations and executive manager, finance and corporate governance is a deputy because we do need council staff on the Gawler River Floodplain Management Authority. They are very important, so that we note that. And we're moving down to Northern Adelaide Waste Management Authority. We've got 2 council members and a deputy. So we've got Councillor Kosh, Councillor Solomon as the full members. Do we have a deputy? Councillor White, thank you. And we also note or be appointed as board members to the Northern Adelaide Waste Management Authority for a 12-month, the CEO and the manager, Environment and Regulatory Services, who would be a deputy for the CEO. Happy with that. And then we go down to, now I'm assuming Councillor Hughes, you'd like to be on the Gawler Health Advisory. They really love you on that council. You really bring such a good broad range of local experience and local government experience as well, David. So be great if you kept going on that. You happy? Good. And then we move down to that council. We need a representative for the Gawler Business Development Group. Councillor Solomon, thank you very much. And officers, and also we need a council representative for the community house. Councillor Davies, thank you very much. So, and over the page, it notes that the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, not officers, appointment to the Regional Development Board, Barossa, Gawler, Light and Adelaide Plains. Just on that, there is a draft strategic plan that I would encourage you all to read. I can't see much of Gawler in that particular plan. And I think the priorities need to be strengthened in that particular plan, but I really take feedback from every elected member on that regard. If we could have that circulated to all elected members, I think it's really important that we understand what's going into those documents. And the final one there is for Gawler and District College Council Board for a 12-month period. Who would like to go onto that particular? Councillor Davies, thank you very much. And you'd like to be a deputy? Oh, question? Certainly.
Sorry, thank you, Mayor. I believe Councillor Hennessy mentioned this earlier, but just down in under the officer's recommendation, there's information about the Gawler Urban Rivers Biodiversity Working Group. Is this
it's defunct.
It's defunct? Okay, yep, that's right. And
It's
there's
not there
also
anymore.
no, that's okay. Yeah, I think you've also got under there about the Reconciliation Action Plan Working Group. Is that just what we've decided on earlier? There's not 2. Yeah,
So
no
that's
worries.
the Reconciliation Working Group, which we put, I can't remember who previous motion. So that's an actual working group, the reconciliation action plan. Yep. Okay. Now we've got a move. Do we have a mover and a seconder? No. Yes, no. So we need a mover and a seconder to endorse. So I've got councillor Hennessy moved, councillor Hughes seconded. If there's no further discussion, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. So that deals, thank you very much, elected members. That deals with that. So now I'm up to 10.9, which is general purpose financial statements. Ms. Perkins, can you just give a brief overview of what, because we've got some new elected members and this is a new concept maybe to some of our elected members.
Through the chair. So as part of the Local Government Act, the council, once it's actually adopted its budget, is actually required to actually undertake a review of the budget 3 times throughout the year. So the 2 reports, so effectively the first and the third is considered a budget update, and then we'll actually have a mid-year budget review. So this is our first budget update. Normally,
These are the general purpose financial statements.
oh, sorry, apologies.
That's okay.
Sorry about that. So yes, with regard to the general financial purpose statements, we are required to adopt a set of financial statements that sets out the financial performance of the council and the financial position as at the 30th of June. These are subject to external audit. So Galpins, our external auditors, was on site in September and undertaken the audit. They did deliver a unqualified audit opinion. So that means that there is nothing, there's no material misstatements within the financial statements that are actually presented to you for your consideration tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Okay, so we have an officer's recommendation that notes the general purpose financial statements for the year ended 30th of June 2022 have been endorsed and recommended for adoption by the Audit Committee pursuant to section 1264A of the Local Government Act, adopts the general purpose financial statements for the year ending 30th of June 2022 and authorise the certification of the general purpose financial statements and that they be signed by the CEO and the Mayor. Notes the auditor's certification of auditors' independence, authorises the certification of the auditor independence and such be signed by the Audit Committee presiding member and the Chief Executive Officer, and notes and receives the independent auditor's audit completion report, which completes this cycle. Are you happy to move that way, Councillor Hughes?
Thank you. Yes, and I'd also like to thank all the finance staff, all the work behind the audit process. It's quite a big process that they go through each year, and also the outcome with the surplus was good. It was a very difficult year for the council, but overall performance-wise was a good result, I believe. But it is a big process that we're about, I suppose, in the next couple of weeks to start our budget process. So this is the end of the budget process. But yeah, we're about to start it, and yeah, the next officer's recommendation is the first quarter budget review, which we're already in. So it's a huge process. And also, I think all councillors are welcome to go to the audit meetings to sit in on those meetings, and at the audit meetings they actually go through these papers quite a lot of detail, and the independent members are really good at asking really good questions as well, what's going on behind the scenes, which is really where you do learn a lot as well. But yeah, happy to move the motion.
Do I have a seconder? it is a statutory requirement that we do this. Thank you, councillor Kosh. You happy to? Yes, absolutely.
Look, this was thoroughly gone through the audit committee and and it's fantastic that it does go through the audit committee and we had a lot of discussion on it. But I'd just like Ms Perkins to maybe talk about the net financial liabilities ratio, because that's an important issue. And I note on page 37 of 62 that it's down to 62.2% as of the 30th of June. And when our budget was actually talking up in the 80%. So could you just explain why that figure is down at 69.2? Thank you.
Through the chair. So in relation to the net financial liabilities ratio, so that is a measure of the council's indebtedness or how much the council actually owes at a particular point in time. So under, so there's certain elements, so it's not just necessarily our extent of our borrowings. However, that is actually one of the major liabilities that the council has. So this indicator will fluctuate, depends on a number of circumstances, obviously our borrowings level, but also how much cash that we'll actually have in the bank at the time of the measure, because it's our net financial liabilities. So we'll fluctuate during the year. So ideally, the plan is to try and keep it less than 100%. So while it was the budget was budgeted position was around about 80. So some of the factors that has brought that down, which has enabled us to repay debt, is the additional quarter advance of the financial assistance grants, which the federal government paid to councils early in June. And plus there's also the impact of some deferred or non-completion of some capital works programs where we haven't had to actually borrow the funds because the work hasn't actually been undertaken.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I've got Councillor Deputy Mayor Shanks first, then you, Councillor Solomon.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, look, I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation and I thank the work that's gone in. But I think the important point here as well is some of these ratios right now, I see them a bit distorted because of what's just been mentioned. Capital works projects not being delivered when we told the community we were going to, and I know there's factors at play there that we'll unpack a bit more through the budget process. But we're not in a position where I think we can pat ourselves on the back just yet. We do need to really delve into these distortions because on my time in council, I've noticed them bottleneck slightly, and those distortions do mess around with our ratios a little bit, and that's something that will come out as we run through the budget process. Another quick comment to make, these are very higher operating sort of documents and they're intimidating to me, to be fair. The fact that they're coming in on the first meeting is not ideal. And I know that's not a council.
It's not.
It's not a council staff decision, but the timing of this is a little bit clunky in my honest opinion. I'd like to see it sort of retouched on in the workshop environment where we can actually delve into this, because yeah, the financial statements and everything, unless you're an accountant, they are intimidating. So if anyone else in the room feels that way, you're not the only ones. I can promise you that.
Councillor Solomon.
I think my question is sufficiently answered by what Councillor Shanks' contribution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other comments? No. Councillor Hughes, are you happy for me to put the motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now, Ms Perkins, this is the quarter budget review. If you'd like to give a very brief overview of what that is. Thank you.
So through the chair, so as I mentioned previously, under the Local Government Act, we, as a council, we are required to review the adopted budget at least 3 times a year. And this is actually our first review that we've actually undertaken. And we would normally do this around this time of year as a standard practice. Pretty much because it's actually the first budget review and we're so early into the financial year, most of the adjustments are reflecting of information that has just come available in this first quarter. Normally what we would actually do is once we actually have the mid-year budget review is a more extensive review of where we think that we're actually going to be at as at 30th of June in comparison to the adopted budget. And in relation to the major adjustment, which is the increase in the capital expenditure, that relates to the carried forward funding from the previous budget for projects that are yet to be weren't completed as at 30th of June. So that's pretty much a normal thing, and it's a normal thing that actually happens across all councils. So it's not necessarily a unique experience here for the town of Gawler.
Councillor Kosh, are you happy to move? Do you wish to speak?
I'll just get back to net financial liabilities. If you look at this again, the snapshot was 69.2%, and in this report, it's actually 85%. So that's where it's fluctuating up and down. In my view, we need to get the debt down as much as possible, and I think as a council, we should keep a really strong eye on getting our debt down. If you don't, the debt will spiral out of control, and we won't be able to do major capital works in the future. Because what happens is the budget will do this, and you'll see it after a couple of terms, you'll see it go up and like this, the debt, and we're at the point where we're actually starting to go down, and we'll get it down to a point where we can borrow to do more capital, big capital items like the pool. So I think if people could just keep that in mind, that we're on the downward trend when it comes to debt. And if you keep your eye on the net financial liability ratio, it's a handy one to keep a check on. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, yeah, just to agree with Councillor Kosh has said about the debt. It's something so I think the community are concerned about as well. But we do need to be able to deliver on some of the bigger projects in the future. When myself and Councillor Kosh came onto council, we were actually borrowing for our operating budgets of $3 million a year. So we weren't even covering. So one of the things that we've tried to do since that time is actually have balanced operating budgets and then be able to deliver major projects for our community that way. So keeping control of the debt is really important. But yeah, happy to second the motion.
Thank you. Any other discussion, Councillor Davies? I can see you a lot better there.
Yeah. So firstly, a question in terms of adopting this update is there anything we're actually approving? Is there something that makes this not an information report? I'm just curious around the
Increase of 3.23 million.
well, we're noting that, but we're not approving it.
We're noting an increase of 3.2, adopts the first budget update with no net change to the operating deficit of 1.426, underlying surplus of 168,000.
Sure. I mean, I understand what's in the motion. I'm just wondering, because we have information reports and we have decision reports. Is there a decision that if we were to vote this down, for example, something would change, or is this a noting report?
Well, it's actually, we have to adopt a first budget update. That's a requirement. So we have to do point 1. Point 2 is superfluous, really. We're just noting. But it does make it transparent for our community as well. So I think it's important to have that second point, even though it's only noting, but it provides that transparency for people who take an interest in council affairs. They can see that there's an increase of 3.23 in capital expenditure and an increase in capital income received, which is 2.18.
Yeah, and I'll speak to the motion as well. Yeah, this is something that is, I mean, as the deputy mayor was saying previously, it's something that we really need the new councillors to have a lot of training to be able to understand a lot of this, because it is, I think some people just look at the numbers and they say, oh, council's in debt, or, you know, but it's hard to really sort of pinpoint, well, what does that mean? Because things can change by millions of dollars just because the accounting has said this goes in a different category now, or, you know, nothing's changed, but we've, you know, but this project, the grant funding came this year instead of next year, and that's changed our financial liabilities ratio by 30%. And so, you know, without a clear understanding of all of that, I think it's hard for people to get a grasp on what's actually happening with the council budget. So I think that's something that it would be great to continue to get workshops and training on. I just think it's something that I understand why people say things like, oh, well, you know, councils should work like a household budget and live within their means and all this kind of thing, but that's not how household budgets work either. Most people I know who own houses have a mortgage, which is investing into the future. And that's what we're trying to do here is if our debt is zero, then we've sort of failed a little bit in that we probably need to get our debt up, because it means we're not investing in future projects. But, you know, we do need to go into debt sometimes so that we can refurbish the Civic Centre or replace our pool that's a 60-year-old structure from the Melbourne Olympics or something like that. And this stuff all costs money in the tens of millions, and we have to borrow for it. But yeah, so at the moment, we're going to save over the next few years and hopefully be able to get another big project installed.
Thank you very much. Any other, we've got a couple of hands up. We've got Councillor Sample and Deputy Mayor Shanks.
Did I hear you say, Mayor Karen, that we only note this motion tonight because
We're
number
adopting.
one is adopts?
No, I said that we have to do number one.
Yeah, I
That's a
know, but
requirement. That's a requirement, number one. And number two is noting, but it's important because it creates a transparency for our community if they're reading this document.
yeah,
I think it is worthwhile having both.
yeah, I agree, and I hear what Councillor Davies said and others have said. You know, this is the first official council meeting for the next 4 years, and as long as it's clearly understood, we certainly have questions can be asked here, but a lot of these figures are pretty hard to get a lot of people's heads around. So we need to have, I think, as Councillor Koch said, you know, through training and all these sort of things, so that the new members and the current members completely have their head around the fact of where we are at this particular point in time.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, look, I understand the importance of why this is coming to us. And again, it's a little bit annoying that it comes to us now, but it is what it is. I think there's more debate to have in this space because this, I understand the sentiment of going, we need to get out of debt to be able to do another key project, but we also need to balance the cost of doing so. While we're in a surplus and raising rates and fundamental services aren't being adhered to via expectations of our ratepayers, there is a balancing act that we need to ensure we're doing using the budget process to do so. This is a review of how it went last time, and this is a handy baseline. It does show what happens if capital works don't quite make it into the financial year that we told the community we would, and it outlines the reasons behind them. So as we move into the budget process, this is an important part of the process, but it's up to this council to figure out if we still are over if we're liking the trajectory that we're going for and lowering debt, which is a very good strategy, but we need to understand the cost of doing so to the ratepayers. A sentiment that you see in state government or federal government, while the government's in a surplus, the taxpayer is in a deficit. You know, those are the sorts of things we need to think about as we work through this process.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, councillor Kosh, you happy for me to put the motion? You want to wrap it up?
Just getting back to debt, there's a cost to council if we don't get our debt down to service the debt. And we actually are doing a service review at the moment. And that way we'll look at what services we provide at the expectations of the community. In some cases, we might be over servicing and that's costing us a lot of money. So we are doing service review. So it all wraps up together to ensure that we operate efficiently and financially sustainable as much as possible for the long-term financial sustainability for the community and the council, which is part of our requirements under the Act. So we have to actually have a sustainable budget. It's part of the Act. So this is a really good step, and I ask everyone to adopt it. Thank you.
I'm going to, the debate is closed. We will put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we go to 10.11 annual reports, and we have the annual financial statements of Gawler River Floodplain Management Authority report and also Northern Adelaide Waste Management Authority annual report. So are you happy to move that way, councillor Kosh? Okay. Yep, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, I'm the rep on both of those, and I assume that everyone's read it.
Yes.
And as read, yep.
I'll take it as read. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Villalonga, thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Hughes.
Just the motion has 2021. It's actually 21-22. It should be corrected in the motion. It's minus.
Oh, thank you. I missed that. Sorry.
Yeah. Can I speak to them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the annual report of the council itself is a major document. It's a historic document of the 12 months of the council. It's really important. And there's a lot of information in that document. It's basically the history of the year. So yeah, it's quite a good document. Something that we have dropped out of there is the attendance at meetings and stuff like that. That's normally in there. I think that's not in there again this time. But the number of council meetings and the number of times councillors have attended and things like that, that's probably should be in there as a record. But apart from that, I think, to commend the staff on the work, because it's such a huge document to put together. And yeah, no, well done on putting it together as well. So thank you.
You have, you wish to speak, councillor Hennessy?
Thank you. I reinforce the words councillor Hughes has just said. It was my expectation from an early discussion that the attendance records of all elected members is included within the annual report. So I actually looked for it and noted that it wasn't there. But I think it's an important part of the report. And at one stage was actually
It should be in there.
was actually delegated,
Yeah.
legislated was
Yeah.
requirement.
Why isn't it in there?
Yes, that information should be detailed in the annual report. My understanding was it was detailed, but so if the members could otherwise adopt it as amended, and we'll ensure that information is included.
If the attendance can be circulated to all elected members as well, because we don't have it, and I'd like to have it sent as an email and also put into the annual report. And so will you put that as amended? Thank you. Thank you, Jordan. So I think that addresses your point. Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, it was just a question, because I did send an email through just asking about that register, because our training session, I thought it was touched on that that register alone is actually going to be accessible on the website, but I might have been confused on that.
I don't know if attendance at meetings is going to be on the website, on the council website. I don't think that's a requirement, is it?
Not a statutory
No.
requirement, but it can be on a motion of council, should you. Does that, yeah, and again,
Training, attendance at training, I think, and register of gifts and benefits, etc. Yeah, yeah. Anything else? Have I missed out anything else? Reimbursements, allowances and benefits. Yeah, yeah. Hope that addresses your question. Councillor Davies.
Just another minor amendment. This is page 202 of the attachments. It's just about the council member allowances. The figure for,
Just let it get
I'll
there,
I'll let you
Tony,
get there.
Sorry. 202. Yep.
The figure for the deputy mayor seems to be wrong. 20,000 is not 25% more than 18,000, so I know that the deputy
Where
mayor
is-
figure is not. This
I'm
is the
not
top
with-
of the page.
202. Oh, deputy mayor. 20, that's not quite right, is it?
No,
Is that right?
should be around 23 if it's a quarter more than the councillor budget.
Well,
Well, this is July
what's the-
21
what's
to
the
June
percent- oh,
22.
Excuse me, what's the percentage for the deputy mayor? Is it 1.25? It's 1.25. So 18 times 1.25,
So this is July 21 to June 22. Which would be
18,402 times 1.25. We can do it on a calculator and we'll get it right. Yes. I can't see it, I'm sorry. I cannot see you or your microphone. So
apologies.
you actually need to move up a little bit. No, because when councillor Lowner comes back, I won't be able to see you at all. So I actually need you over there a bit and then I can see you really
I can do
easily.
that. But so through the chair, I can provide the information that was the number as per provided by finance, which I thought was more appropriate than just timesing it by 1.25 and but I can provide that commentary, and as we do have the as amended, if that is the direction of the council, that commentary can be supplied.
And also updated in here, yes, yeah. So that will be included in the amendments. Yep. Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, I think the finance amount is actually correct because we actually didn't have a deputy mayor for a month or two. So that is the correct amount.
Okay, that's probably July 221 to 222, so it's probably correct. Yeah. Okay, so it may not need to be amended. Okay. All right. Any other discussion on this matter? If not, Councillor Kosh, you happy for me to put the motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we move to information reports. Now, information reports are noting reports. And we have 3. And we can move them en bloc if we wish. They're fairly straightforward. We've got 3. I'm assuming that yes, Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, I'm happy to move all 3.
Okay, so you've got a seconder in Councillor Vallelonga. If there's no further discussion, yes? You'd like to, thank you.
11.1. Performance summary report.
Oh, yes. Mhm.
Yep. I just want to make some comments about On page 49, we've had a savings in the water consumption and also saving with the waste disposal. I just want to speak to those two. possible?
Yes, yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
What I would like to see is when with the saving in the water consumption, we actually rolled out a new system where we had moisture sensors put into the ovals.
Yeah,
I would like to actually see that put out to all the green open space, because you actually save money. And an issue that we have got is that we do spend a lot of money on irrigating open spaces. And there's two reports that people probably need to look at, is the Jerry Charlton report a couple of years ago, where he actually talked about reducing our water consumption, because he said it was financially and environmentally unsustainable. And also, if you look at the draft RDA strategic plan that the Mayor mentioned tonight, on page 39, under the subject Future Generations, page 40, there's a recommendation there for low water dependent green spaces for gatherings and recreation. So I mean, it will continue to come up again and again about the water consumption, because we tend to overwater our reserves and our green open spaces. And we do get a lot of issues from residents. Oh, we like green open spaces, but this is an item where we can actually reduce our water consumption, still have a green space if we use clever technology. So that's pretty important. And the other one, I just want to talk about the savings with the waste disposal. From my understanding, that's because people are taking green waste out of the red bin and put it into the green bin. And so there's less tonnage in the red bin, and we get charged a waste levy every time a ton goes into the ground. So by putting stuff in from the red to the green, we're actually saving a lot of money, and there it is showing up in there. So that's a really good example of public education and the rollout of the green bins, which we did free of charge as a council to residents, getting tonnage out of the red into the green and saving us a lot of money. So they're just two interesting things I want to talk about.
I think it's a significant saving.
Yep.
I think new technology saves money,
It does.
basically. And also the fact that people are getting more interested in recycling is really quite exciting. And also the food waste is going out of our red bin into our green bin. And that's, I think, nearly up to 70% according to the corporate scorecard that I have a look at every now and again.
Interesting. Green waste, like food, that's about 80 to 90% water. So we're actually paying to put water in the ground if you put it in the red bin. That's what it actually gets down to. So you put it into the green bin, it's actually, so you're not putting water into the ground.
So I think congratulations needs to go to every member of our community in Gawler. Because the majority of people are doing the right thing and it's saving money. So thank you. Okay, any other discussion, Councillor Hennessy?
Thank you. Could I just ask that first report that you alluded to come out to us with the draft RDA, the Jerry Charlton report be added to that, or at least a link to where that might be found in the online so that we can make ourselves familiar. Thank you.
So we could put both of those up on the councillor notice board. And once that's up there, perhaps an update so we know that it's there. That's on the hub. Okay, I think that's a really good idea. Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. All right. Any other discussion? Oh, two hands. Okay, Councillor White and Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of questions, and I understand if they can't be answered right now, they might have to be at a later time. But just regarding 11.1, so the financial performance summary report, it says on the agenda on page 49, firstly, it talks about the employee costs, and it says how due to resignations and retirements, there were several vacant positions, so the council had to, I guess, contract in staff to fulfill those roles. I guess in the next, in our next sort of annual report, will those staff be replaced, which means that those costs be reduced as those staff have been employed again, or there's new staff that have been added? So if I'm reading that right, is that saying that there were resignations and retirements, but in order because of staff shortages or employee shortages, council had to contract out different positions to
agency staff and
yes.
consultants.
Yes. So I guess my question is, have those staff members or, those vacancies been filled? So does that mean that cost will be reduced in the next annual report?
Mr CEO, Mr Innett.
Well, when during the course of and the transition from one year to the other, when positions are filled, then that expense is related to the funding as allocated in the budget. When the vacancies occurred through, retirements and resignations and so forth, as per the report, depending on the timing of anticipating success with recruitment, we either decide to hold off on engaging contractors or agencies to fill the gap where we can. However, where we can't because of workloads and pressures, then we incur that cost. So it's a balancing out. So where a vacancy does occur as provided and which is funded in the budget, then we certainly move to fill that position. And so it's not otherwise deemed to be a savings for the course of the balance of the financial year.
You got a subsequent?
Thank you. Yes, I did just have another question. Just regarding the material contracts and others. At the end there, it's got the savings, general savings in material purchases of $277,000. We were speaking earlier about how, we are looking for savings everywhere we can. It would be interesting to know, and maybe this could come out to all elected
You'd like a
members.
breakdown?
Yeah, what those savings actually are, if that would be possible.
Might take that on notice and provide that, and we might put it up on the council notice board as well. Okay, does everyone know where the councillor notice board is? Okay, so if we can provide advice and training to our elected members on the hub and where to find the councillor notice, but we're not going to do that right now. We're going to Thursday. We'll talk about that Thursday night. Okay, good. Lovely. Just on Thursday night, which is a training session, you might want to bring your computers so that we can all find the hub and work through, and that might make it a bit easier for everyone. Councillor Davies, you're next.
Yeah, so this one's just about 11.2, the results of the elections. I'm not sure what methods there are for us to give feedback to the Electoral Commission, but we had some frustrations. Candidates and staff had some frustrations with communication around the election. When it was going to computer count was a question that we were getting conflicting answers on. And as they were apparently counting the results, which were, according to the computer, already finished by 3 p.m. that day, staff were telling us that what they'd heard from the Electoral Commission is that it may or may not be done sometime this week, and we may or may not find out, which was just,
Yeah, I rang up on Wednesday after the 12th, which was the 16th, I think, and I couldn't get anything out of the Electoral Commission.
Yeah, and this is, this made it so that people were unable to scrutineer for the computer count, for example, which is, I think, a breach in the process, to be honest, because the point of open, transparent elections is that you can appoint a scrutineer because it's meant to be a process that if you wanted to, you can, watch it happen and see how they're deciding the formal, informal votes, all that kind of thing. It's a right of the candidates that was not given to the candidates.
I think you should write a motion on notice and send it through, and maybe we could wordsmith it.
Yep, sounds good.
We are intending on presenting a report to council in January with some observations from an administration point of view, but we'll also seek to get some thoughts from elected members, and then that will form the basis of a submission authored by the Mayor to the Electoral Commission.
If you want to wait that long. Okay, any other, right. So Councillor Sample, then Deputy Mayor.
Hey, me first.
Yes, you first.
Just to follow on from that, this year, for this election, it was great to have so many people nominated. is there a procedure in place that to all of those people that put their hand up want to be a councillor, does this council send out a letter or something of information of thank you for taking the time to put your hand up to become a councillor? Or basically, sorry, you missed out, no one knows nothing. I
Well,
just wonder if there's
That's a
been.
matter for council. It's a matter for
Oh,
you
it's still
guys.
coming up. Yeah, I'm a bit slow. It's getting.
So thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I did find the process equally a little bit clunky, as councillor Davies has pointed out. You know, on over the weekend, I'm sure we're all doing it and we're trying to watch for the results and see what's going on and stay updated. And then to have our governance officer be told one thing by exactly the same electoral commissioner, that a candidate was told a different thing. It just was, it didn't really restore much faith in the electoral commission and the processes that were being followed. Plus, we pay a pretty heavy bill as well to actually have this process. Then to have the process, in my opinion, undermined to a degree when it goes through the computer count, to then be said, well, this is gospel, you know, with no scrutiny. After all that, then they published the provisional results. On the Tuesday morning, there was an official document that didn't align with what the summary was on the website at the time. So I am looking forward to providing this feedback. Yes, you know, I'm not lost on the fact that I was successful and there was others that weren't, and I really thank everyone for putting their hand up. But we lost 100 votes in that process as a collective. It wasn't just a couple. So it does bring into question the process a little bit, and the conflicting information that we're given and the lack of communication as well.
You could argue that it's a checks and balance system, that from a manual count through to a computerized count. And I think that we need to be a little bit careful when we provide that feedback, that we actually provide considered feedback and understand the process as it transpired.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we need to delve into, because some of the questions that are getting asked are not being met with appropriate answers on, in my opinion. But again, this is a conversation that I think is, I'm happy to have, because yes, I've also had some communications with the Electoral Commission, and I'm not too impressed in some of the answers I've gotten to date and are yet to receive that I was promised to be received.
There may be, and I know that Electoral Commission officers need to be very careful what they provide in the way of information, particularly when there's questions raised, when there's requests for recounts, etc. And I think they rightly need to be careful what information they provide until they know exactly what the outcome is. And I can see both sides of the story here. So I think that look, I think they could have, that certainly communication could have been more effective and more transparent. This is, I think, the first time the Electoral Commission has taken on the local government elections, as in my memory anyway. Yeah. All of it. Yeah, they did everything. And I think that there is absolute important feedback around communicating with candidates, providing forms that you can fill out, not, you know, at the 11th hour. I think that was quite frustrating. And I think that certainly from a communication point of view, but I think from a process and election and the way elections are run, I'm not sure that I had too many problems with it. Now, I know other people did, but I guess we'll wait and see what the feedback is and go from there. But yeah, I think we need to be a little bit careful with our language, and yeah, it can be, there's always two sides to the story. So so thank you, Deputy Mayor, for your considered comments. Ethan, Councillor White, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just would like to take the opportunity to, I guess, air a few concerns that community members have spoken to me about, and specifically they were candidates in the local government election. And I guess echoing a little bit what Deputy Mayor Shanks and Councillor Davies has said, it really was if the town of Gawler are given an opportunity to provide feedback to the Electoral Commission, I think the lack of communication from EXA during the election, obviously being a candidate, as we all were aware, it is sort of a anxious, stressful time where you might be constantly refreshing the page. And I guess to be not sent any sort of official document until a week after the election, which was an email, was a little bit sort of, I guess, underwhelming. And also the miscommunication again, which the Deputy Mayor touched on. We were getting told lots of different things from a whole range of different angles. So while I understand this is not the town of Gawler's,
No.
I guess, area of concern,
Yeah,
as Deputy Mayor Shanks has said, we are paying quite big money to, I guess, for EXA to provide a seamless election, which that is their job. So if we are provided the feedback, and when that happens, I look forward to contributing on behalf of the community and specifically all the candidates that contested the elections. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Kosh.
Yeah, look, I just get concerned when some of the comments have been made about the election. And I think we need to be very careful in what we say, really.
agree.
I mean, that's what I'm going to say.
I think that there's lots of strong views around, but we also need to understand, one, the resources of the Electoral Commission. We need to understand the process, and we need to understand, that yes, there can be some improvements, but we need to be careful with our language so that it's respectful, but on the money. Yeah, Councillor Solomon.
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously, I think this is something which is very important to discuss, and as some council members have rightly pointed out, in a very careful and considered way. I would also add, without repeating what anyone has already said, add that I think there are some questions which can be asked of the Electoral Commission. Obviously, we don't want to make any assumptions about what's happened, but if there are concerns, if there is a resourcing issue and that's what it is, then we do need to know that that's exactly what it is before we make those recommendations. But I think there are some strong questions which need to be asked, maybe prior to that submission being given back to EXA, and then we can properly contribute to that piece. Thank you.
Yeah, it'd be good if that was circulated early. I agree. Okay. Councillor Hughes, you happy for me to put the motion? Thank you. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you for really good debate on that matter. Okay. So now we move to recommendations from committee. There are no recommendations from our committees currently. There are no external bodies reports. We have a question on notice from Councillor Davies, and the questions are typed here, and the CEO has handed out, and these answers will be put into the minutes of this council agenda, or the minutes of the council agenda. Interestingly, Councillor Davies, Clark Road is part of the developer's responsibility to upgrade. And I think staff have indicated that Clark Road was the next external infrastructure to be upgraded. Council staff have encouraged Devine to progress with Clark Road as soon as possible. So thank you for asking that very important question. Came up a lot, didn't it? Yes. So they will be included in the minutes. Questions without notice? So who's first? I saw you first because I can't get you out of my head now. So Councillor Davies and then Deputy Mayor.
All right, so a few questions. The large dog area at the dog park, do we have an estimate on when that will be reopened?
happy to take it on notice if that's required? Take that on notice. So we've documented that question. Do you have a subsequent?
The participatory budgeting projects that were successful, how are those going? Are those on schedule? Are they on budget? I'm just curious to.
Has it been started, Ms Perkins?
Through the chair, I'll have to take that on notice.
Okay, thank you. If we can be provided a timely turnaround on that, that'd be great. Is that complete? One more? Okay.
Yeah, I did get something from a resident about the state of a roundabout in Williston.
Yes, I got the same. You mean, was it from Ms Hemmerling? Yes, I will circulate that. That is a letter that came questioning the need to upgrade the Williston roundabout near the hotel and had a range of queries. So I will circulate that and include the staff and ask for a response on that particular letter. I don't know who else got the letter. You got that too, Nathan? Thank you. Yeah, so I will circulate that. That was as a result of a conversation I had with Ms Hemmerling on the weekend. And she was quite animated and I said, please write a letter so that we can action some of or get responses for you around some of your concerns. Okay. Deputy Mayor, you had some questions?
Yeah, you've covered one with the letter, so that's all good. I do have one sent through to me at the start of the meeting, just about the Southern Gawler entrance landscape improvements. It's noted that it's budgeted and they're just, yeah, where are we at with that project?
Southern Landscape Landlines Development, that's the one you're talking about?
Yeah, landscape improvements is the question.
Well, we're going to have to take that on notice because I think that's Wendy Young's portfolio. So I'm sure she'll have an answer for you as soon as possible. Do you have any other questions? No. Any other questions without notice? Thank you. We'll move on. We have a motion on notice, Councillor Hughes. Would you like to present your motion, please?
Yes, and actually thank Councillor Davies for his questions because it points out that one of our streets, Jane Street, which doesn't have formal footpaths, won't get footpaths till 2039-40. Yeah, so we do have a lot of footpaths. I think it goes out to 2050, especially for Gawler East. It's something, you know, the footpath area is something that we've tried to increase the budget over the years. But yeah, it's certainly something I think we need to have a workshop. So my motion is to during the budget process that's coming up, we actually have a workshop on footpaths and the maintenance and delivery of new ones, curbs and gutters. And I've also, public have had concerns about those that are closed shops, so having it open to the public as well. So, but if we, I don't expect we'll be able to deliver all our footpaths in the next 10 years, but if we can prioritise the main ones, because there are a lot of areas where the footpaths. We've also got issues with even the existing footpaths are really hard to navigate with a pram or with children safely as well. So it's just making our town more pedestrian and disability access friendly. And safer for people to get around our town, and encouraging people to walk and even use cycle in our cycleways, but just making sure everything links and is safe. So yeah, I just would hope that all the councillors support this motion. Thank you.
So Deputy Mayor, you were happy to second. Wish to speak?
Yeah, look, I'm happy to second this. This has been one of those fundamental services that have been in the chamber before, have heard me harping on about for the last 4 years. I've even moved motions to try to get footpaths that are needed in areas that do have those young prams, those school students traversing on the road, opposed to using council verges because they're all uneven and et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a good move to hold a workshop about this particular item or these items, because this is all a part of sort of breaking it down into those bite-sized pieces. And this is one of those fundamental services that I don't believe we're living up to the expectations of the ratepayers in this space, and our backlog is sort of, it's getting unmanageable in my opinion. And even, you know, when I moved the Edward Street one up the list, it took a fair bit of time to go, oh, hang on, we need to put a footpath in here now. How are we going to actually do that? And we're still yet to see that footpath. I know it's coming this financial year, but another look at this, another strategy approach may be needed. But a workshop, I think, is a you know, calculated move, especially to be able to delve into this important fundamental service. So I'm happy to second this, and I look forward to these conversations to come if this is successful.
Any discussion? If not, Councillor Hughes, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Davies, you have a motion.
Yep, I think this is so self-explanatory that I didn't even put a preamble in it. I think it's just good to thank the election candidates who've put their time in. We've had a couple that have continued to come along to this latest meeting. I noticed Brent Dawnford and Sam Shetler are still hanging around, which is great. And yeah, we've got some outgoing councillors that were on the council up until last month, Paul Little and Kelvin Goldstone, that have done some great work over the years, and thank them for their time as well.
Do I have a seconder? Oh, sorry, Councillor Samble had his hand up first. Do you wish to speak at all? Brian, turn your mic on so that everyone can hear you.
But yeah, no, it's a great, thank you, Councillor Davies, for moving that, because a lot of effort was put into it, and the councillors for the last 4 years, a lot of effort put up with some very exciting meetings and things like that. So I believe we should definitely do something, as Councillor Davies said here, in a very professional way. And I thank all of those that were involved personally.
Councillor Hennessy? Oh, sorry, I think it was Deputy Mayor. Did you want to speak as well? That's all right. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to just include past councillor Diane Fields, who's also here tonight, as well as Fraser. Sorry, Diane. Sorry, so we're
the past.
Yes, that's going way back. So yes, you mentioned Kelvin Goldstone and Paul Little, but we also need to acknowledge Diane Fraser as well. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, sorry, Deputy Mayor.
No, that's okay. Yeah, just quickly, yeah, I'd personally like to thank all the candidates that were successful and also unsuccessful, both in the mayoral campaign race and in the area councillor race. What I'm really excited and humbled to hear is, you know, even though some have been unsuccessful, the learning curve, I guess, for those ones that have committed to put up their hands, not an easy task to put up your hand. So that is a massive acknowledgement there as well. But the ones that have put up their hands, and I've talked to after the results, it's just humbling to hear what has been learned and what that drive of nominating has awoken inside some of the people I've been speaking with. And yeah, I really look forward to working with these community members that are, if nothing else, that little bit more engaged and willing to, yeah, engage with their council to a level that they may not have done before. And yeah, it's something I can resonate with quite openly. And yeah, I really do look forward to continuing those relationships, because yeah, I've really benefited from those conversations during the campaign, and look forward to benefiting further into the future.
Thank you. Are you going to speak about something different? Yep, slightly, because if we're saying the same thing,
Yes,
I'm going to cut it short.
obviously
Okay.
Echo what everyone else says, but obviously the high number of candidates and running and putting their hand up to run obviously resulted in a quite a high turnout. And I think that while it's not something which needs to be put in the motion about the turnout, I think the high number of people who voted is a good thing for the town. And when we have a community who's engaged, the council can only benefit from that.
Thank you. Okay, so councillor Davies. Are you happy for me to put the motion or you want to wrap up?
I'll just briefly to say, Di Fraser,
You did neglect to say.
I did
her.
neglect to mention her. But I just had, because we sort of thanked her at the end of the last term because she didn't run again, and I'd sort of already written her off in my mind, so.
You're digging a hole, councillor.
Yeah.
Councillor Davies.
But
You might
no,
want to stop.
we'll, it's all right. I look forward to continuing to work with her as the representative of the Gawler Community House, where she has been the treasurer for 10, 15 years or something like that at this point. So, yeah, so thanks to everyone's comments.
Thank you. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now that completes motions on notice. Motions without notice. Are there any? No. Council member attendance. Well, any elected members who wish to make mention of any events that they've been to? Yes, councillor Davies and then councillor Hughes.
Yeah, so I went along to councillor Hennessy's book launch, which was a great time. I got it autographed by the author. So it was very, very exciting time.
And Pat Booth as well.
And Pat Booth as well, both authors. So yeah, if you wanna have a look at that book about E.H. Coombe, one of our important founding fathers here in this town. I'm sure councillor Hennessy will let you know how to find it.
How to pay for the book, yes. Excellent. So Wakefield Press has done a wonderful job promoting the book as well. It was a wonderful event and very well worth getting the book. It will be in the library, I think. Is that right, councillor Hennessy? Will it be in the library? You're not sure? I'm
not
assuming
sure.
it will be.
I'm sure that the library staff have
Will
organised it.
Organise it at some point in the future. I think it should be in the library. It's a really important book. It's very well researched, as you rightly noted. Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, just really quickly, the Gawler District's Health Advisory Council AGM was last Friday and the mayor came along, which was really good as well. The A&E, they actually start work on that next week, which is fantastic, which is a great outcome. And there is still room for a community representative. So if someone wants to go onto the this group, they've got a lot of consultation with the community because we're working on a plan basically that will drive health in the town for the next 10, 15 years. We want to get that plan finished by May, June to try and get financing from the state government. Very similar process that Mount Barker went to actually get their expansion works for their hospital. So we're going through that process at the moment. So any help would be gratefully appreciated. I also represented the mayor at the Remembrance Day reflaying as well, which went really well. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I went to the Gawler and District College Awards night, and the Gawler College Foundation gives out multiple scholarships, and many deserving students received sporting scholarships, academic and leadership scholarships. Some of those were sponsored by our local member, but also service clubs that were highly represented in those scholarships. Also, I went to the St. Bridget's Community Celebration on Thursday, the 24th of November, St Bridget's Catholic School and Xavier College are amalgamating next year. So St Bridget's will be a Xavier College campus, Evanston campus. They did a fantastic job at reflecting on the legacy of St Bridget's School. And I certainly requested that they have St Bridget's somewhere acknowledged and celebrated, because I think it's been in place for nearly 70 years, and it's really important that you don't just throw that history out. So we'll see where that goes, but I think they did it with class and sensitivity. We also had a History Network meeting to prepare for History Month next year in May. Gawler is well represented, and on the launch of the E.H. Coombe book, the History Trust celebrated Gawler and promoted our brochure, which the Heritage Centre collates, but many different community groups contribute and do many different community events. It brings many people to the town, and Gawler is now getting known for its high level of history talks, tours and events. And look out, there's going to be some really exciting stuff coming. On Friday, the 25th of November, the Zonta Club of Gawler officially launched their Remembering Courageous Women mosaic mural, which is stage one. Stage one was sponsored, of course, by the town of Gawler to the tune of $10,000. And the stage two will be sponsored by Villawood Communities, which is just such a fantastic. If you haven't seen it, it's on Julian Terrace. It's behind the Jeff New mural. And really, please go and have a look at it. It's fabulous. Sandra Sullivan has done a fantastic work bringing together many different artists, both new and old. 2 Aboriginal artists have contributed, and it looks absolutely magnificent. So please go and have a look at it. It's a really important cause. It's about domestic violence, and it's about remembering women who have been killed by their partners or ex-partners. So it is, and we're currently in 16 days of activism. There's a vigil Thursday night at 5 o'clock at that same place. And there's also a walk Saturday morning. So please come along and support those community events. And of course, I went to the E.H. Coombe and wouldn't have missed it for the world. It was a fantastic event, over 100 people here in the Institute Hall. It was really, really fabulous to see so many people interested in history, in such a great researched book. And it's lots of family members of E.H. Coombe came along, at least 20, and they were very excited to finally acknowledge such a great, as you said, Councillor Davies, a founding father of Gawler. So yes, and this Saturday, of course, we've got the 60th anniversary of the swimming pool. Please go along, it's free. Lots of activities. Thursday between, I think, 1:30 and 3:30, there's a podcast. Gawler Broadcasting Association are doing a podcast. If you've got memories of the pool, you can get involved in that podcast at the pool. And yeah, it will be a fabulous day for all concerned. So that's it for me. So thank you. Any other? Councillor Solomon.
Just like to add that also I attended right before being sworn in, actually, the AGM of the Gawler Community Gallery, which I know is a space which is mentioned in our in some of the finance reports here, and they had the AGM in there, and obviously that's a space which has had some contribution from council quite recently, so I'll just note that as well.
Thank you very much. Councillor White.
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, an event I attended a couple of weeks ago too, I know that Councillor Davies was there as well, was the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee's youth band had a open night at the Gawler Lawn Bowls Club, which was a really good night. The young people were able to perform in a nice relaxed setting, and while also the Lawn Bowls Club got a great benefit of members of our community coming out and trying out bowls. I know that Councillor Davies and I probably got a bit of practice to do first before we start our careers in lawn bowls, but it was a good event. And I'm not sure if it's appropriate to mention here for upcoming events, but if any council members are free this Sunday and would like to see Mr. Inat and I have a go
Oh,
at
yes, I'm
playing,
tossing the coin.
yes, at cricket.
Henry's going to get 100 apparently. Yeah.
Yes, so please come if you're free on Sunday.
He said that. He
is
said he's
that-
going to
is
get
that right?
100.
Wow.
Came out of his mouth. It's true.
Oh. Yes, so if you'd like to see Mr. Inat hit a century and me get a diamond duck, the CEO and I are
Golden duck.
golden, yes. I
Just a cricket
Oh,
technicality,
diamond
sorry.
duck, I think is not even when you face the ball. You just get run out. So yes, anyway, the CEO and I are playing in a charity cricket match against the Gawler Police,
Yeah.
police officers, for raising money for the salvos in Gawler for homeless people and people that are living rough. So if you're not doing anything Sunday, want to come for a good laugh and a good cause, it's at Sandy Creek Oval.
It will be a fabulous event, really lots of fun. And I think it's fabulous that the Safehold's getting behind it. They're really excited, just like the Salvation Army crew also. So yes, it should be a tight match. Yeah. Tight match should be fabulous, I think. So yes, Sunday. Thank you, everyone. That concludes council member attendances and activities. We might ask if we can put the verbal reports from council members and the mayor in the minutes. I think that's appropriate. Yes, I know it's in there, but I think it's nice to have a motion. So if somebody wants to move that, yes, thank you, councillor Hughes, that the verbal updates be noted and received. Thank you. If I can have a seconder for that. Thank you, councillor Kosh. And I'm going to ask everyone to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you very much. Carried unanimously. I think it's good to actually acknowledge that because it is an important part of what we do as council members. Okay, so there's no confidential reports and we'll close the meeting at 9:30. Thank you. 9:32. Exactly. What's that? Oh, right now. I'll turn that.